If the A's don't add Daniel Susac to the 40-man roster, MLB front offices will treat the Rule 5 draft like Black Friday at Best Buy. Today on Locked On A's.
You are Locked On A's, your daily podcast on the Athletics, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Your team every day. I am your host, Booney, one name, all passion, and lifelong A's fan who has seen it all with this franchise. From Ricky running wild to the Bash Brothers hitting absolute nukes. If you want to find me, you can get me at X at Locked On A's. I cover the A's every single day, even in the offseason. Locked On A's is your daily podcast, and we are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. So do me a favor and hit that subscribe button wherever you are following the show. If you do reside in Nevada, we are on Silver State Sports and Entertainment, Digital Channel 5.2, and Cox Cable Channel 77, Monday through Friday at 12:30 p.m. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Today on Locked On A's, I come to you with some concern. The A's 2026 schedule has been released, and it is essential that the A's get off to a good start. It will be a challenge for sure, as the schedule over the first couple months is one of the toughest in baseball. We will cover the schedule, what to expect later on in the show. Major league teams have to announce their 40-man roster by November 19th, in approximately a little over a week. This is critical. Who will the A's leave off? Who will make the cut? And we will cover every single player in about 10 minutes. First, 2021 first-round pick out of the University of Arizona, catcher Daniel Susac is currently not on the 40-man roster, which could have some consequences. If Susac is not added to the 40-man roster by November 19th, the deadline, he is eligible for the Rule 5 draft next month. The Rule 5 draft. Everyone thinks when they hear Rule 5 draft, how complicated this is. And it does sound complicated, but at its core, it's a simple idea. Major League Baseball created a system to stop teams from hoarding talent and burying young players in the minors forever. If a team doesn't protect a player fast enough, that player becomes available for other teams to steal legally at the winter meetings every single December. Think of baseball rosters like a crowded closet. The 40-man roster is the main closet where teams store the players they want to protect. When a player is on the 40-man roster, he is shielded from being taken by a rival club. If he's not, he's basically left out in the open. Every offseason, Major League Baseball holds the Rule 5 draft, an event where teams can select players from other organizations who are not on a 40-man roster. It's like a lost and found, except the moment you pick something up, you have to carry it around with you all year. Who becomes eligible for the Rule 5 draft? Players signed at age 18 or younger must be protected after 5 seasons. Players signed at 19 or older must be protected after 4 seasons. The clock starts the moment they sign, not when they first play. That detail creates chaos, confusion, and yearly panic for front offices. Daniel Susac, the A's 2022 first-round pick, turns out to be approaching that important deadline. He was drafted out of college, which means he was over 19 at signing. And this winter marks the point where he becomes eligible for the Rule 5 draft if he is not added to the 40-man roster by November 19th. Once eligible Any team can select him. But here's the catch. If a team takes a player in the Rule 5 draft, they must keep him on their major league roster all season long. And I'm not talking about the 40-man roster. I'm talking about the 26-man roster. Not AAA, not AA, the big leagues, 26-man roster. If they cannot do that, they must offer him back to his original team. So selecting a Rule 5 player isn't just shopping. It's like adopting a Great Dane. Sure, that puppy looks cute at the shelter, but once you bring him home, you realize it eats 12 pounds of food a week and needs room to run. Teams must be sure the player can help on the major league roster immediately. That's why many players eligible for the Rule 5 draft are not actually drafted. A team might like a player but doesn't want to burn a roster spot for someone who needs more seasoning. But a former first-round pick, especially a catcher, is a different story. Catchers can stick out at the back end of a roster because even if their bat isn't ready, teams value defense and game calling. Daniel Susac fits the exact Rule 5 profile that gets other teams drooling. He's not some random late-round lottery ticket. He's a first-round catcher with pedigree, size, power, and raw tools. Scouts drooled over him in college. Baseball America called him a physically gifted catcher with a major league ceiling. If the A's do not add Susac to the 40-man roster by November 19th, he goes into the Rule 5 pool. At that point, it's basically a neon sign saying, "First round catcher available, minimal cost. Please ruin the A's offseason." The cost for another team to draft him? Just $100K. That's couch cushion money in baseball terms. If the experiment fails, returning him costs only $50K. It's the lowest risk gamble in the sport. That's why teams do it. Now, why would the A's even hesitate? Because the 40-man roster is limited. Protecting Susac might force them to cut or trade someone else. Front office have to decide which players they believe in long term. It's baseball's version of musical chairs, and the music stops on November 19th. But leaving Susac unprotected would be stunning. Teams drool over catchers with first-round pedigree because catching is the thinnest position in baseball. You can find corner outfielders everywhere, but a legit catcher? It's like trying to find a PlayStation 5 on launch day. Let's talk probability. If Susac were left unprotected, multiple teams would line up. Rebuilding clubs, yes. Contenders needing a backup catcher, absolutely. Even teams who believe in analytics would take advantage because Rule 5 means low cost, high upside, zero long-term risk. The A's didn't draft Daniel Susac to gift wrap him for someone else. Protecting a first-round pick is one of the simplest, most automatic decisions in baseball. If they leave him exposed, every front office executive with a pulse will try to steal him. Probability he gets taken if unprotected, close to 100%. The smarter question isn't, would another team Susac? It's why on earth would the A's let him be available in the first place? Let's talk 40-man roster and why this is even a discussion up next. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. We are back at you talking Rule 5 draft, talking Daniel Susac, and talking 40-man roster. Let's go through the 40-man roster and find out why this is even a discussion with regard to Daniel Susac and who's on the 40-man right now. Here is currently the A's 40-man roster with pitching, hitting, and on the right hand of the screen, you are going to see those who I believe are on the borderline to possibly get on the 40-man roster. Those highlighted in white and green on the right-hand side are eligible for the Rule 5 draft if they are not protected by November 19th. Currently on the list, we have 38 guys on the list, which means 2 spots right now are open. What we have to also consider is possible free agents we may sign, trades, those who we pick up on waivers. Pitching, Severino, Springs, Lopez, Morales, Jack Perkins, JT Ginn, Brady Basso, Justin Sterner, Tyler Ferguson, Hogan Harris, Michael Kelly, Elvis Alvarado is who I expect to be on the opening day roster if we were going to take 2025 as a measuring stick. On the hitting side of things, Butler, Rooker, Soderstrom, Colby Thomas, J.J. Bleday, Denzel Clark, Carlos Cortez, Jacob Wilson, Zach Geloff, Nick Kurtz, Brett Harris, Daryl Hernandez, Max Muncy, Max Schumann, Shea Langoliers, and Austin Wins. I do not see anybody off that particular list coming off it. On the pitching side, it's a little bit of a different story. But again, we do have 2 spots to fill. The first individual on the far right I want you to pay close attention to is Braden Nett. Braden Nett was one of the top prospects in the Padre organization and one of the top prospects in the A's organization. We got Nett in the Mason Miller trade. I believe he's ranked number 5 in our prospect system right now. Here's the deal. Remember, the Rule 5 draft states if you do draft somebody, they have to be on your 26-man roster all year long. Now, is Braden Nett Major League Baseball ready? Probably not. I don't believe he is. But that's a hell of a risk. That is a hell of a risk to leave Braden Nett unprotected and have somebody else take a flyer on him. I don't see that happening. I don't want that to happen. I think Nett will get one of the 2 remaining spots. Kenya Huggins. Kenya Huggins is who we received in the Miguel Andujar trade. Another one of our top prospects. He's in our top 20 in prospects. Again, do we leave somebody like Kenya Huggins unprotected? Is he major league ready right now? He is not. Can a team swoop him up? I don't see them doing that. Not for somebody with a pedigree such as Huggins, where he's, can be considered in the top 25 as far as prospect list. Here's our guy, Daniel Susac. Daniel Susac at this time should be on the 40-man roster. If I have Braden Nett and Daniel Susac, that would complete my 40-man roster. Now, hey, Booney, how about if we trade for somebody and pick up a free agent such as a veteran like we did last year with a Gio Urshela or a Luis Urias? Well, there's a lot of guys at this point that we could release and make room for a veteran such as those, like a Joey Estes, like a Osvaldo Bido, like a Mason Barnett. There are a lot of guys on that pitching side of things. We can still make room for, again, a free agent, a veteran free agent we may sign in the offseason. You may be asking, why isn't Louis DeVries on the 40-man roster? Well, keep this in mind as well. Last year, Nick Kurtz wasn't on the 40-man roster. It doesn't make much sense for a guy like Leo DeVries to be on the 40-man roster and to protect him. There's nothing to really protect. You can't touch DeVries, right? If DeVries tears it up in AAA and AA, wherever he is, and we want to make room for him, sure, one of these guys would have to come off the 40-man roster in order to make room for him. I don't think that's going to be much of an issue when you look at the names. And that goes for guys like a Henry Bolte, a Ryan Lasco, who, by the way, is tearing it up in the Arizona Fall League. Gage Jump, Junior Perez, who had a huge year in Vegas AAA towards the end of the year. Tommy White, who I didn't put on this list as well. Joshua Kuroda Grauer. All those guys, if all these guys are having huge years in AAA, AA, and all of a sudden you want to bring them up, it won't be difficult to make room for them. We did that all year long. The 40-man roster has plenty of room on it where a guy like Daniel Susac should absolutely be on that list. So in other words, if we do not put Daniel Susac on that 40-man roster, I will be in absolute shock considering our only two catchers right now that we have that are major league ready is Langoliers and Austin Wins. We need another catcher. And the next best thing we have is Daniel Susac, unless you plan on going out and getting somebody and signing somebody like a Johnny Pareda, which I don't want to do. Daniel Susac should be on that 40-man roster. Daniel Susac will be on that 40-man roster by the time November 19th hits. I guarantee it. What I don't guarantee is how the A's will start off the 2026 season, considering what their schedule looks like. Let's go through the first 2 months of their schedule, or what I like to call the first 50, up next. NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout. It's frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You will always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all the fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. The app made it super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat before buying. I love zone deals as well. Pick the section. Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. It's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I have bought tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Welcome back, and thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen every day. For your second listen, find the all-night Locked On MLB Game Night. Every team, every offseason move. Get local analysis on a national scale. You can find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. We are talking Rule 5 draft. We are talking Daniel Susac, 40-man roster. And now we are talking 2026 athletic schedule and what I like to call the first 50. Everydayers know what I'm talking about. The first 50, something that has haunted the A's for the past 4 seasons. The first 50. Because every spring, every darn spring, baseball trots out the same tired mantra. Relax. It's a long season. There's 162 of them. That phrase is the comfort food of teams that start slow, stumble out of the gate, and tell themselves it will all even out by July. And maybe that works for the Dodgers. Maybe it works for the Yankees. It does not work for the A's. The A's can't afford to play that game anymore. For 4 straight seasons, this franchise has sleptwalked through the opening months. In 2022, 20 and 30 over the first 50. In 2023, 10 and 40. Is that even possible? In 2024, 20 and 30. And last year, 22 and 28 after we got off to a 20 and 16 start. Those numbers aren't rough starts. Those are self-dug trenches. Once you start a season 10 and 40, or even 20 and 30, 22 and 28, you're not waiting to heat up. You're clawing out of the quicksand. Every loss is another brick tied to your ankle. The first 50 games of 2026 are not a gentle stroll. They're an absolute gauntlet. Check this out. We open up with a 3-game set in Toronto, 3-game set in Atlanta, come home for our home opener against the Astros for 3, go back on the road in New York, 3 in New York against the Yankees and the Mets, come back home for a 4-game set against the Rangers, 3 at home against the White Sox. Then we go on the road, 3 games in Seattle, 3 games in Texas, back at home, 3 games against KC, 3 games against Cleveland, back on the road, 3 against the Phillies, 3 in Baltimore, back home, 3 against the Cardinals, 3 against the Giants, and then on the road, 4 games in Anaheim against the Angels. That is our first 50 games. This is a tour through every style of baseball hardship, buzzsaw lineups, bandbox sparks, and humid, jet-lagged road trips. The schedule makers didn't give the A's a runway. They tossed them into a darned wind tunnel. Starting with Toronto and the Braves mean facing elite pitching in stadiums that feed on adrenaline. You think it's going to be fun facing the American League champions on their opening day? Yeah. If you show up hesitant, the scoreboard will expose you. The Astros and Rangers still swing like sledgehammers. The Yankees and Mets bring the full noise of New York. Seattle? They're better, loud and petty. Philly, they boo Santa Claus. You think they won't boo your rookie starter if he falls behind 3-0? Slow starts are not just about numbers. They infect belief. A good April whispers, we can hang with anybody. A bad April screams, here we go again. And here's the truth. No one wants to say it loud, but when the A's start 20 and 30 or 22 and 28, fans stop believing before Memorial Day. Momentum is real. Confidence is real. The standings don't show those, but the clubhouse feels them. Baseball Reference and Fangraphs have studied how early season records impact playoff odds. Teams that sit 5+ games under 500 by May 31st almost never make the postseason. When front office evaluate direction at the trade deadline, early records matter. Contending teams add talent. Losing teams sell off pieces. A brutal April becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The A's can't let that happen in 2026. This roster is not built to wait around and get hot later. It's built on youth, upside, and energy. Momentum is oxygen. When a young team starts hot, swagger arrives early. Confidence builds. When a young team starts slow, doubt spreads like mold. Look at those first 50 games again. The A's don't need to dominate. They just need to fight. Go 26 and 24. Go 500. And suddenly the whole season changes. You're in the race. You're not chasing. You are being chased. Good teams make statements in April. Great teams make believers. A fast start tells the league, we are not waiting until September to spoil your season. We're here now. And let's be real. This fan base has lived through enough false starts, enough rebuilds, enough trust the process. The future is here. The prospects are ready. The pipeline is overflowing. The relocation circus is over. The excuses are gone. The A's don't need perfection. They need urgency, because in 2026, quote unquote, it's a long season. Isn't a strategy. It's a trap. The path to the postseason starts at pitch 1 in Toronto. No drifting, no sleepwalking, no digging another hole and begging for daylight. This time it's simple. Punch the gas, set the tone, control the season before it controls you.
The A's are not just a baseball team. They are a reflection of us, the underdogs, the overlooked, the doubted, the left behind. In a world that tells us to line up in order of perceived value, the A's are what happens when the people at the back of the line get their shot. They have always been built on cast-offs, misfits, and the kids with something to prove. Players who didn't have 5 stars next to their name on some ranking site. Players who were told they were too old, too young, too small, too raw. Players who carried around a chip on their shoulder like it was a badge of honor. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Yeah. Because we have all been there. Told no, passed over, laughed at. We've all had those moments where we looked in the mirror and wondered if we were good enough. That's what makes the A's perfect. Not because they are flawless, but because their flaws are our flaws. They mirror our struggle, our grind, our resilience. They lose, they rebuild, they rise again, just like we do. They aren't about John Fisher or shiny free agents or press clippings. They are about that moment when a 24th round pick smokes a double into the gap. They are about the kid who slept in his car on the way to spring training and ends up making the opening day roster. They are about us. The people who fight for everything they get, who believe that heart beats hype every single time. The A's are the anthem for the unchosen. The team that keeps swinging even when nobody's watching. The imperfect, untamed, unpredictable fire that refuses to go out. So yeah, being an A's fan is messy, it's painful, it's frustrating, but it's real. And in a sports world addicted to polish and polishers, real is the rarest thing of all. The A's are not a brand. They are a belief. They are a belief that has succeeded and won like few franchises in all of baseball. And if you've ever been counted out, overlooked, told you're not good enough, you already know they are you. And you are perfect.